It's 8 p.m. right now on Denver7 News on Local 3. Be prepared for long waits and the potential for more mudslides if you're heading up to the mountains this weekend.
We have a cold front moving in for the weekend, cooler temperatures, but also a good chance of thunderstorms.
A family cabin that survived last summer's fires is swept away by flooding this week.
We actually were planning on going up that night, and I was like, maybe not. That's probably not sounding like the best plan.
Now a family gathering place is gone, but the memories made there are not.
That's just so much of what, this space that held, meant so much to each of us in different ways.
Good Friday evening, and thank you for watching Denver7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter. If you're planning for a weekend trip to the high country, there's a good chance you'll find yourself in some traffic, either from more mudslides or detours from mudslide closures. This is what traffic looked like today in Steamboat Springs. All this traffic is being rerouted through Steamboat because I-70 is closed through Glenwood Canyon for the threat of mudslides. You can expect that to happen over the weekend as well. And as we saw all week, the threat of mudslides really is statewide. On Tuesday, a large mudslide went through Poudre Canyon in Larimer County, killing one person and leaving 3 people still missing. Highway 125 in Grand County was closed and on and off all week long for mudslides through the East Troublesome Fire burn scar. And more rain is expected for that area this week. Further to the west near Avon, I-70 was closed when a mudslide covered the highway. It also made a mess of the small town center. The impact was felt near Aspen as well. Last night, a mudslide covered parts of Avalanche Creek Road south of Carbondale. The risk for more slides was so high, campers were told to just stay put. We have a Denver7 Weather Action Day in effect right now through the weekend for that enhanced threat of mudslides across the state. Chief Meteorologist Mike Nelson joins us with what we can expect. Mike.
Thanks, Jessica. We're going to see a lot of what you'll see behind me here. This is a time lapse earlier today up on the Continental Divide over Loveland Pass. Very heavy rainfall moving in. Take you through all of the various flood zones. First of all, going up East Troublesome Bird Scar, Poudre Canyon, flash flood watches in effect till 9 o'clock. Williams Fork Burn Scar, flash flood watch in effect. We had some warnings there earlier. They've been lifted. Grizzly Creek Bird Scar, flash flood warning in effect there until 9 o'clock tonight. And a real mess down in Fremont County. We've had thunderstorms, and notice how they're tracking. They're actually pushing back toward the west, and this goes from Buckskin Joe and over towards Salida, Buena Vista. Travel on Highway 50 is not recommended for tonight. Now, the Denver area has missed the brunt of this. We have not only had a few scattered light showers, but there's a cold front north of us. That's going to push southward over the weekend and stall over the central part of the state. That means locally heavy rainfall possible across many of those burn scars. So heavy mountain storms for the weekend, scattered storms for the metro, less so on the farther eastern plains, cooler this weekend, but locally heavy rainfall possible in many areas of central Colorado, primarily mountains and foothills, for the next 48 hours.
Thank you, Mike. We'll check back in with you in just a few minutes. Before you head out the door this weekend, make sure you download Denver7 Plus for your streaming device. There you'll find all the latest updates and weather conditions. We have new video at 8 showing a close-up view of the destruction caused by a mudslide in Poudre Canyon this week. 5 homes were destroyed in the small Black Hollow neighborhood. Cleanup could take months, and the area may never look the same. Denver7's Eddie Guajardo has the story of one family that lost a cabin with decades of memories stored inside.
And here's my grandfather outside the cabin.
A cabin in Poudre Canyon that held more than 3 decades of memories.
It was always so exciting because my sister and I were so into, making s'mores, right outside, going down to the river. We had our secret spots.
Brita Latona's grandfather built the cabin for his family and generations to come.
The structure being built in the late 1980s.
A slice of paradise for family and friends to cherish time together.
Fishing, staying on the river, doing hikes.
A getaway in jeopardy last year as a Cameron Peak fire inched towards their cabin. Firefighters worked around the clock to fight those apocalyptic flames.
They saved the whole cabin community because the fire came within I think 100 yards.
The fire left a burn scar and temporary relief that was washed away Tuesday night when a mudslide brought down a wrath of disaster on the small Black Hollow neighborhood.
Basically told her that our cabin was gone.
Britta's grandmother was devastated. In 2016, her husband died.
Here he is, hanging, I think, a bird feeder.
It was their sanctuary.
She was crying on the phone. I mean, my sister and I were too.
Memorabilia and memories buried in rubble.
My grandma said that it was 10 times worse than she had even imagined. I could see one red chair that had been in our cabin, and it was sitting at the top of the heap of rubble.
Cleanup is expected to take weeks, if not months, and 3 people remain missing.
Just heart-wrenching and so devastating for any families to go through that. We actually were planning on going up that night.
But weather warnings changed her mind. Rebuilding could take years.
It won't ever be the same. And I think we're all still processing that.
And grieving the hurt brought down on their family and neighbors. Addie Guardo, Denver7.
Addie, thank you. As for the 3 people still missing, rescue crews had to stop searching this afternoon because of rain. They plan to be back out in the morning to search again. Jury selection began today in the long-awaited trial of Alex Ewing, better known as the Hammer Killer. Ewing was charged 3 years ago in the murders of Bruce and Deborah Bennett and their 7-year-old daughter. The 3 were found murdered in their Aurora home in 1984. The couple's 3-year-old daughter survived but was badly hurt. This trial only focuses on the Bennett murders. Ewing will also be prosecuted in the murder of Patricia Smith, a Lakewood woman killed 5 days before the Bennetts. Well, Fort Collins police believe this brief video may help them solve a murder. Investigators think the person behind the wheel of the SUV seen here drove to the South Transit Center and killed 58-year-old Todd Stout earlier this month. Stout was homeless. He was also a father and grandfather. Anyone with information needs to call police. Thousands of people are in Cheyenne tonight for Frontier Days. Tonight, the big attraction is country singer Garth Brooks. Organizers say his concert sold out in under 45 minutes.
I took some friends who didn't know his music, and by the end of the night, they're like, that was the most amazing show I've ever seen. It's a party. It doesn't matter if you like his music or not. He's rock, he's country, he's so enthralled with the audience.
And he's just a nice guy. This is Frontier Day's first year back after the pandemic shut down the event in 2020. There are concerns that this year could be a super spreader event, but organizers say they are taking numerous precautions to keep people safe. At 32%, Wyoming has one of the worst vaccination rates in the country. If you haven't been vaccinated, doctors say this is a good way to get COVID. If you have been vaccinated, take extra precautions if you so choose, but know you're probably going to be okay.
It's a super spreader event among the non-vaccinated. It's not a super spreader event with the vaccinated population. If you're not vaccinated, you're allowing this virus to continue to exist in our communities.
Organizers have added paperless tickets and sanitation areas, which, come to think about it, probably should have been a fixture before COVID. The event runs through August 1st. U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland continued her tour of Colorado with a stop in Grand Junction today. The secretary's visit comes amid calls to either keep Bureau of Land Management headquarters on the western slope, improve it, or move it back to the nation's capital. Senators Michael Bennet and John Hickenlooper say the headquarters needs to stay in Colorado.
I think having a headquarters here with employees all over the West and rotating in and out of Washington so they get their voice heard at the important decisions, that's a great vision that I think I embrace, and I'm hoping we can get Secretary Haaland to embrace.
Congresswoman Lauren Boebert says this has been a slam dunk for her district and that it only makes sense for BLM leaders to live near the land they're managing. Secretary Haaland did not give any insight into what she plans to do, only saying she is still weighing her options.
Prior to that, I would say I would post an ad and get 1 or 2 responses.
Now I get 4 a day.
Getting people back to work is hard. Some say ending federal unemployment benefits is drawing in more workers. Others say it made no difference.
We never really bought into that, didn't expect a full flood of resumes, and we haven't seen that.
After the break, we have an in-depth look at the job market in states that have ended federal benefits early.
This cold front is going to bring a bit of a change for the weekend. Cooler temperatures, but still more storms.
Plus, an 11-year-old boy nearly killed after being hit and dragged by a drunk driver.
It's hard when you see your child screaming for 3 hours because he's in so much pain.
With medical bills from surgery piling up, our Denver7 Gives viewers stepped up to relieve some of the burden.
We appreciate it so much because it's just amazing how the community can come together